said, this is the first of what I anticipate to be maybe 2 or 3 other meetings with respect to workshops with respect to reopening safely. So, this is purely informative. We have a panel of individuals that have had some experience with reopening within their areas or regions. Ultimately, we're going to have to go with the flow of the New York State rules and regulations, and that's obviously primary. So whatever rules the government or local municipalities put forward, that's going to be what we follow. And then, as we work with facilities and different meeting spots, we have to also follow their lead in what they're comfortable with. And then also Narcotics Anonymous has posted on the World website their specific guidelines that they suggest as well. So tonight, how we're going to do it is I have 4 individuals that will be answering some questions. They'll share for a little bit on their experience, and then we'll go to the floor for a Q&A, and then we'll just kind of run the rest of the meeting out, on a Q&A basis. So before getting into who it is that I have here, before introducing them, I kind of just want to do an introduction of my own and just talk a little bit about, the reopening process and how our traditions actually are directly tied into how we go about reopening our meetings to members. So obviously, all 12 traditions are relevant whenever we do things on a group basis. But I would say that the 3 most important traditions that are to be followed would be the 4th tradition, the 10th tradition, and the 12th tradition. So the 4th tradition states that each group should be autonomous except in matters affecting NA as a whole. And that directly correlates to what we're doing with reopening our meetings to members. Obviously, each group is going to have the ability to make their own decisions as to whether they want to open a meeting or not, how they're going to go about doing it, what the format's going to be. So the same way that maybe a facility puts rules on a group, and the group can also have the ability to put certain rules and guidelines on how they're going to operate. But in the 4th tradition also, it mentions making decisions that might affect NA as a whole. And what that means is, we might be making certain decisions regarding opening up, but we want to be careful, to keep to not affect the community negatively, not be breaking any laws as far as state regulations and city regulations. And we don't want to tarnish the NA name, so we want to do things, in a way that also keep our neighbors safe, in a sense. We don't want Narcotics Anonymous name to be tarnished because we're making our own rules, doing our own things, and affecting the community. It also talks about the 10th tradition, where Narcotics Anonymous has no opinion on outside issues. Hence, the NA name ought never be brought into public controversy. And the way that I see that, and hopefully other people agree, is like, we don't have opinions on the COVID virus. We don't have an opinion based on what the government is saying, we should do and what we should not do. So, our responsibility is to our members, and we're going to follow the rules that are set forth and try to make it a safe reopening process without challenging government direction. Because the government, it's not suggestions that the government's making. It's pretty much like, a definitive what to do and what not to do. And lastly, I mentioned the 12th tradition being applicable in the reopening process, and that's anonymity is the spiritual foundation of all of our traditions, ever reminding us to place principles before personalities. There might be some incidences where there's always, anonymity is always, it's imperative to always, protect privacy of members. But you do have some issues that have come about, and some of the members that are sharing tonight are going to talk a little bit about that. But you do have some times where tracing might be, something that has to be done. And we want to be able to, we want to be able to practice anonymity and stay in line with government requests. And I'm not going to get into that because that's the panelist responsibility. But lastly, as part of the 12th edition, you know, we talk about placing principles before personalities. And that pretty much means, like, you know, we might have a specific opinion on the way that things should be done, and maybe strong opinions, but you know, sometimes we have to put that to the side and follow rules and be responsible and you know, be productive. Like, you know, we do have a responsibility to our members, and like I mentioned before, we have a responsibility to the facilities, to the community, and to government as well. And with that, what I'd like to do is I'd like to introduce the panel to y'all, and then we can get started.